Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Gardner, and today I'm going to examine the struggles of the average no-kill animal shelter in America and what you can do to help them out. The first and most immediate problem these shelters face is the fact that they don't get much money. Hundreds of billions of dollars are donated to charity annually across the United States. And yet, somehow, charities that center around animals and the environment only make up about 3% of that amount. Even then, that includes environmental causes. Take that out of the equation, and you can guarantee that the actual amount animal shelters receive is even less than that. Throw on an extra $2 billion for taxes, and you can see that for the amount of shelters operating across the country, there is not nearly enough money being sent to these shelters to keep them in good shape. The next biggest issue is that most of these shelters don't have nearly enough room to house all of the animals they care for. When a shelter has a no-kill rule, that means they will absolutely not euthanize an animal just to make room for another. They're going to take in every animal that comes their way. Sometimes that means their shelter simply isn't going to be big enough for all of them. When that happens, animals are often forced into very uncomfortable spaces to share room with animals that they may not get along very well with, or even be offered to homes acting as foster homes for the animals. As a matter of fact, this very issue is particularly big in Los Angeles, where a few shelters have taken more than double the animals that they can handle. There are some things that anyone, regardless of wealth, skills, or resources, however, can do to help them out, like volunteering. Most shelters offer the opportunity for people to sign up for them and do some volunteer work around the place. Maybe they need a caretaker to look after the animals, or maybe they need a driver to deliver some supplies. Whatever the need may be, shelters will always have a need for volunteers to lend their services for the sake of the animals. And if you need some more personal motivation to consider it, volunteering is a good way to gather some experience for a resume. It will look very good to a potential employer if they see that you already have some experience carrying out duties similar to what they're likely to give you. Who knows? Maybe they'll even teach you a useful skill or two. If you do have some money to spare, though, these shelters could always do with some more funds. Shelters spend money on far more than just dog food. They need toys, equipment, paid employees, spare parts, gas money, and backup funds to cover emergency expenses. For this reason, they never turn down donations in the form of either money or supplies. Some shelters even have their own personal wish lists. If you're feeling particularly charitable, you can take a look at these and see if you can help tick a few items off their shopping lists. Believe it or not, you can even help your local shelter right from the comfort of your own home. How? Through social media, of course. While they do make their own social media posts, it goes without saying that any further publicity that paints them in a good light is always welcome. If you recently used one of their services, maybe adopting a pet from them or getting your dog or cat chipped and vaccinated, you could perhaps spare a few minutes of your time to let the internet know how awesome they are. Given that people base a surprising number of their decisions on what they see on social media, one good appreciation post may be enough to provide your local shelter with just one more new supporter. If you don't believe that a shelter with a no-kill rule can be just as successful as any other shelter, then know that such shelters do exist. A few examples you can look at include the Humane Society of Hobart, PAWS, the Best Friends Animal Society, and Richmond SPCA. The Humane Society of Hobart, in particular, despite its small size, took in just under 2,500 cats and dogs last year, and less than 100 of them were euthanized. Even then, most of the ones that were euthanized had ailments or injuries that couldn't be treated. None of that is counting any of the more exotic pets they take in either. Considering that the percentage of animals they took in that year getting euthanized is less than 0.5%, I'd say that's a pretty good track record. Thanks for listening in. I really hope I was able to convince you to lend a helping hand. If not, hopefully you learned something new.